Welcome back, guys. We're starting on the rear suspension now. We've got the car laid on the ground. Front suspension's good. We still have to do our front shocks, but we're going to move on to getting our bags in. So the back, we're running an SS7 bag. So they're the ones with the composite top and bottom plates. This is the kit design that comes from this supplier. On a slam bag, I know you've heard me mention it before, but this bellow here, when it's deflated or compressed, it actually comes above this this upper mount face by about 1/8 of an inch. So you can see this is my builder bag, and I built it with that in mind so that whenever I'm building something, I know that top lip, we're gonna have bag material roll around it. Whereas if you look at a standard, like this one's a rear bag again, or front, depending on what you're putting it in, but that upper plate, get you in the light, the bag material stays below the upper plate. So you can run a style like this, a mount like this, with no issues at all. My concern when I'm doing a kit is I don't want that bag to rub anywhere. And unless you can put a full flat surface that's going to be on this bag, of course, 7 inches in diameter. So unless you can come 7 1/4, 7 1/2 in diameter around here so that your bag material is only going to touch that plate, then you have no sharp edges for it to cut on. This, when you see this deflates, so when you see on this one, when you deflate, you'd actually come in contact with this edge here. Same on this side, and probably wrap around a little bit further. So my personal preference, if you want to run this, that's cool. Like I have nothing against how this is designed at all. It's just personal preference. So I like to do so I cut this one on the plasma. So then I'm going to go into my stack. Because this is an inverted mount, I'm going to stack my 4-inch shed pipe quarter wall. I'm going to put that in there. Then I've got my bag mount. So my bag mount matches 5.3 on diameter for an RE7, 2.75 on our distance for our mounting holes, and then we've got our plug or our air fitting there. So we've got tons of room for all of that. So we're going to stack all of that. So this piece I cut to be 3/4 of an inch. Change this back here. So now you see we've got our main plate, super strong, our bent, then we've got our spacer in there, and then we've got our mount face. These all still need to be cleaned up. But now you can see if that bag, or when that bag, not if, because we're using slams, wraps around that mount face, this is the exact diameter of this mount face here, and it comes right to the edge. So we're getting as much contact as we can. So this gives us all the contact, and then when that bag rolls, it rolls away from all of this, never contacts any of these edges, and then there's no concern in my mind. That bag should last forever. This is exactly what I did on my 54 on the back. I've been running the same bags for 15 years. I've never changed a bag in that car. I'm doing a rear end swap coming up, and I'm gonna change them just because everything's apart. But you know, if you can hide everything, or not hide everything, but think of how that bag is going to form and flow around. This is the bottom mount that comes with the kit. No concerns here at all. Like, it's hitting on all that composite. We've got a little bit miss here because of the form, but that's perfectly fine. There's no issue with that. So slam 7 in the back. This is our stock mount. So I'm going to line up my center on my plasma and cut I went 4.18 on my diameter cut. And by doing that, I'm going to give myself a lip on the inside that I can weld to, and then I'm also going to weld on the outside here. And then when I mount this plate on, I'm going to weld on the inside, and I'll put some weld on the outside where I can get to it. But that's just what I like to do. It's a common practice that I take on. I've done it on all the rear setups where I'm using this shed 40 pipe to do a standoff, unless you can do a full plate where the bag's just going to come up contact with a nice smooth plate. There's no roughness, there's no sharp edge, there's nothing, so it's going to work perfect. So we're going to cut this one out. The one that I haven't cut, I cut this just to show you guys what it looks like. So I've already got my other one cut, and my other plate is under here. So I've got what I need. These just need to be cleaned up. So I got to set my center point on that, cut that out. But that's just a little into what my brain likes to do. So let's get this lined up over here. Our laptop out. The outline on that right now is what a 7 mount surface is. Okay, we'll call that 0. Turn on our plasma. Get our builder bag out of the way. And center, center, center. Everything's good. Okay, so we've got everything cut now. So I'm going to go through and weld those up. Then we can head over to the car and we'll use our builder bag because all slams compressed are 2.9 inches. So that's what this is set up to. So we'll use this to set our heights, make sure everything's lined up, and get everything placed. So my plan is we'll get it in, get the upper welded, we'll drop the car down, we'll take the wheels off because we're going to do our wheel tubs and everything, so I don't even want the wheels and tires on. We'll get everything raised back up. What I wanted to do is just make sure that when I'm putting all this in that I don't have negative below the car hitting the ground. I want to get all the lift I can out of these bags. So if we look at the car now, you know, the front cross member and tranny member are on the ground. And then we come to the back. So the back, you know, we're hitting that sheet metal there. And then in the trunk, we did our additional notching we needed to do. I'll still trim a little bit more up there, but you can see we've got our room in here to mount our 7-inch bags. And then we'll do our shocks, get our shock bar running across, and start putting the car back together. Get the wheel wells in, the covers over the four link. We've got our drive shaft tunnel to do. We still got to get a drive shaft for the car. So we got quite a bit left to do. But I just wanted to go through, make this video, the start of this video with how I prefer to do my bag mounts. And maybe you guys agree, don't agree, but if it helps somebody out, that's the part of the reason I'm doing this channel. You know, when I was doing this, it was kind of before YouTube and before all that. I'm old. So, you know, any bit I can help someone out, I'm gonna put these videos out. So keep watching. We'll get everything set up, and I'll show you what these look like all welded. Okay, so here's our finished product. Standoff, our mount plate. I've got our fitting going to the inside. The one thing I did that we didn't discuss was that hole in the end. So because we have a cup, we got to get rid of any standing water that goes inside of that. So make sure you drill a hole to let everything drain out, or else you'll have water sitting in there. Take a while to rust this out, but you know, rust is an issue. So make sure you put a hole in wherever you have a cup. So these are done. So we'll work on getting those in now. I'll sand off all the paint that I already put on there just to protect it while we're doing the front. So I've got my builder bag set up here with our assembly. This will hit the center, and I placed it in, and with no tire squish, it sits right at the top of the C-notch. So I was kind of wondering, if I put a bit of tire squish on it, can I sit just below and get a bead just on an edge there? If not, I'll weld it on the flat. But it was something funny. These cars sit on the fulcrum, so you can just pick them up, put the body where you want it, and check and see if you like it in different spots. So I think I'm going to put a shim under it, see if I like it with a little bit more, raised up a little bit, and go from there. Okay, so here's our assembly here. We've got the metal cleaned up. There's a slot in this bottom bracket, so just make sure everything's pushed to the front. So I'll line everything up on the top there. We've got our ports there. Our standoff, our bottom standoff. It's miles away from everything. It looks really good there. So we're going to tack it in this location. We'll tack in the bottom. Make sure we tack it in enough spots that we can pull this builder block out, and then weld the insides as well. I want to weld this all the way around, inside and out. And then on here, we'll just get the outsides. It's just holding position. This one here is taking the load from everything. So we'll also do a bar across from side to side. That'll have our shocks on it and also add some more support to these. I don't know what that's going to look like yet. The kit comes with round tabs for a 1.5-inch bar to come across here, and then they bolt to that. But I may just use, I'll probably make my own brackets again for the shock mounts and figure out where that bar needs to be based on the shocks that are supplied with, or the shocks that were purchased with the recommended list, and go from there. So I'm going to get this side tacked in, that side tacked in, and then we'll lift the car back up in the air, because now we've got our position set. We've got our bottom out set, so we know exactly where all of this is going to sit. I can rest the car on 3-inch blocks in this space here, and then I can start to work on sheet metal for the 4-link, sheet metal for the drive shaft. Our wheel tubs here, I can get them all done. So that's the plan now, is get these in, tack them right now, get them fully welded once I pull the block out. Same on the other side. We'll do our shocks probably tomorrow, get all those angles figured out. I'll have to go out to get the wheel wells, and then we have to widen them 2 to 3 inches. I'll have to measure that out again and remember what dimensions I have. I have all my templates set out for the inside here to match all the curve of the sheet metal to match the outside. We got to get the inner fender wells, that little lip that we had there. We got to get that lip cleared off so it'll take weld. And start to make this trunk look like a trunk again. We'll get our big piece of sheet metal bent up to cover all this up. Our trunk right now has a bit of a slope to it, so we'll put the protractor on it, get it set to 0, get our tank a little bit higher up, and then we'll pull our bracing out. Once we get our wheel tubs in and that structure is back into the car, we'll remove our braces we have here, and then we'll do our main support. We're probably going to mount the tank off the upper hood hinges here. That's where mine is, and it tucks everything up as high as we can. So I'll do little tab brackets off of here to hold the tank. The compressor, I'm probably going to try and hide the compressor over in this area here, and that'll tuck everything away. There's just a single compressor right now. So we're going to get these tacked in, get them welded, and we'll come back. Okay, so we have our upper bag mounts welded in. Our lowers are still tacked. I raised the car up in the air to get to underneath of those so I could weld them. And then today I went and picked up the soon-to-be wheel tubs. These are currently 9 inches wide. To fit our opening and bring it all the way from the outside to the inside is 12 inches. So we've got to add 3 inches into these. So we're going to cut them. We'll add a 3-inch strip to them, weld them back together, and then we'll start fitting them into place. I also picked up this material here, 1.5 inches. That's going to run from side to side, across, front and back. We'll use that for, one, our structural, to add some rigidity back in the cross bracing. Not that we took anything out in that area, but I always like to add a bar going across. It'll help support that bag bracket and any side to side within the car, firm up this rear chassis a little bit. So we're going to do that. On those bars, then we'll mount the shocks. So I'm going to figure out where those shocks are going to go. We'll get those tacked in. I just want to do one very last confirmation of our pinion, and then we'll sit the car. We'll take the wheels off, work on our sheet metal, and then get that structure out of the way. So that's the plan next. While my car's out sitting in the snow, we're going to widen these wheel tubs, get these crossbars in, get the wheels off, and then we can start to fab everything up. So we did pick up some new jack stands. They were on sale. My sketchy ones, I'm going to cut them up and throw them into the scrap guy's trailer. They're too sketchy to use by anybody. I've dreaded using them. I use them mainly just for supporting an axle or a front A-arm or something like that. I don't use them for the body or for the frame. I use my bigger ones with positive locking pins, and these all have the safety chains, safety pin locks, chains. So super happy to get those. You always worry about the jack stands that are under the car and hope they're all safe, and I double check, but now we're good. So let's get to work on cutting these wheel tubs. I'll probably roll the sheet metal. I'll see what the sheet metal looks like, but I'll probably roll it downstairs. I got my sheet metal roller. So cut that, and we're good. Okay, so we've got our widened fenders here now. So our next step will be getting them in the car. We're gonna have the split where we widened it out towards the outside fender, the outer part of the car, so that when you look in, that'll be kind of tucked back. We're also gonna hit that with some rubber coating and some paint, so you won't even really notice that we did that. And then we're going to rubber coat and spray the insides of them as well, because they are a wheel well. So we do want to try and keep that so that it's got some sort of rubber coating on it. So just going to get under the car, get it jacked up where I want it, and we'll come back. All right, wheel tubs are just in there. They're just placed in. So the next step is going to be make sure they're level across the top. Then we're going to tack them in. Once they're tacked in, we'll pull the wheels out. The wheels are back on the car just so we can make sure that how it's sitting, we got a little bit of clearance above it. So we'll get those tacked in, pull the wheels, and then we'll work on doing the inner and outer fender structure. I do have some templates. So these are my templates here. That's the outer. Another outer. I've got an inner in here somewhere. There's my inner. So once they're in, we'll see if these templates still work or if this one's slightly different. And then we'll get the tubs in. When our tubs are in, we can get rid of that support structure. Those tubes that run across. We can get rid of that, and then we can do the cover. Obviously we'll have to get the shocks in first, because we don't want to be fighting with sheet metal and shocks and all kinds of crap. So I'm going to get everything tacked in, and then we'll take a look at where our next stages are. Okay, so we've got passenger side wheel tub. That one's tacked, needs the inside and outside and the bottom and top. Our view from in our trunk. So we still got to tie that back in at the bottom, create the sides on the floor to come around, and then of course our C-notch cover. But that's what it looks like, all tubbed out. Tons of room if you want to run 8-inch wide tires in the back. These are currently 205 75/15s on here, but this rear end is narrower by 2 inches, so the wheels are in tighter. So an 8-inch wide, as long as the offset's right, will fit in here no problem. There's our passenger side there, or sorry, our driver's side. So we still got to do the inner, the outer, the reveals on the bottom. I had some spare wheel wells there. So you can see that one's short, and I was able to graft on a piece and continue with the radius on the inside and the trunk of the car, which I think makes it look so much better. And then we just had to do some small filler pieces, but it's coming along really well. We're definitely gonna have to move the 54 out to do the driver's side, because I don't want to cover it in the tons of black undercoating crap that I had to grind off and wire wheel and scrape. It's all stuck to my shelves. So we'll move the 54 out to do that. I got to order more sheet metal. We've almost used up all of it. I have enough to do this wheel tub, and then that'll be it. I'll need to order a sheet, maybe a sheet and a half. But we'll see. So when we come back again, I'll show you both sides completed, and hopefully some of the drive shaft tunnel and 4-link covers in place as well. So thanks for watching. So we've got both wheel tubs in now, fully welded. We've got, there's the inside view. So the back seat will need to be modified, obviously, both the bottom and the top. The top will be for the wheel tubs and the drive shaft coming through, and then the bottom will be the drive shaft plus the 4-link all coming through the car. So we're at a stage now where I'm going to do the shocks and do our top cover over the back. This might not be in order. I'm doing the shocks next no matter what. I need a sheet of 18 gauge to do the floor, to cover up the 4-link and the drive shaft. So probably one sheet. I got a bit left over. One sheet should do what I need to do here. And then I can set, right now the gas tank and floor are kind of weighted down. So what I do is I get the car level. I create my structure with that bent sheet metal to do the cover, and jack the tank up until it's level, and then I start welding across and getting all the floor back together. So we're not far off now. By the weekend, today's Thursday night, by the weekend we should have all the floor back together. All the air ride will be done aside from front shocks, and then we'll start working on modifying back seats, and we can mount the tank as well, mount the compressor. Then we got to get into wiring the car, brake line, fuel line, and mount the battery as well. We're going to go under the hood for the battery in the stock-ish location. You don't have to move the battery when you're bagging these cars, but this one doesn't have the battery mount, so we'll come up with something there. There was talks of doing it in the trunk, but it doesn't really make sense. There's lots of room under the hood on these. There's no point in filling up the trunk more than we need to, because we all use our trunks for tools, chairs, drinks, food, all kinds of shit. So next step, like I said, we're going on to shocks. I do have shock brackets that came with the kit. I'll be cutting off the radius section of the upper mount, because we went with square bars across there. The kit comes with these tabs with a cutout for 1.25 inches or 1.5 inches, I can't remember. But we're going to cut these across, and then onto the axle we've got these mounts here, our shocks that are going to go on there. The number comes from Mr. Alex Gambino for what works with his kit. I believe these are Monroe 37038 shocks. So they allow for I think 8 inches of travel. So we'll get those in and then start to close everything up, make it look like a car again. But I just want to show you guys what today looks like outside. Everything was canceled. School was canceled. My wife's work was canceled. I'm on vacation this week to work on whatever I want to work on, but I've already shoveled the cars, been out in the cars. This is what's fallen in the past couple hours. So I was going to move the 54 out, but I didn't, because I didn't want it sitting in the snow. Obviously it can take the snow, I just don't want it like that. So what I did was just put some drywall up against the car. It's touching the trim, not the paintwork, so I'm okay with that while I was doing the wheel tubs. But I can probably move that stuff now. I will move that stuff now, get it away from the car. But tomorrow we'll do the rear shocks and go through how we're mounting all that stuff. Hey everyone, let's talk about where we're at right now. So we've got shocks are mounted. They're still over here. I haven't put them in yet because I've still been lifting the rear end up and down and don't want to disconnect them. But we've got our wheel tubs in, all of our covers in, covers over our frame where it used to stick up here, a little reveal piece there on the spare tire. Everything's welded up in there, down here, same on this side. So now we're going to move on to the interior. And we're going to do the 4-link bars. It's kind of dark. And the drive shaft tunnel. So for the drive shaft tunnel, I'm going to use this drive shaft I have here. It's not obviously the length we need, but we can hook it up to the drive shaft area and see where it's going to sit and then build the cover around that. The 4-link bar is pretty simple, but we are going to put a hole in the top of the cover for the Zerk fittings and on the side so you can get the bolt out if for some reason you ever need to take the bolt out. So there's going to be 2 holes in each one of those covers. Other than that, they're going to cover. And then on the rear cover here, what I do there is I'll probably cover that right up. There's no need for it to be open. On some of the cars I've done, I did access panels there, but there's nothing really that you need to access here because I did holes in the top. So I'll do cover plates for those holes, and then you can get to the bags, fittings. From underneath you can get to all the shocks and everything, so there's no need to have those covers there, so we'll just block them right out. So that's our plan now. So I'll get that yoke off of that drive shaft, get it split so we can figure out where it's going to be and start building away from there. So I do a 6-inch radius is what I like, or a 6-inch diameter is what I like to do on drive shafts, and then leave about 1/4, 3/8 of an inch above it, so when it's aired out the drive shaft doesn't touch that cover. On the bars we'll do the same thing. We'll keep it super tight to the bars because that is where people are going to sit. People will sit right on top of those bars. So once all that's corrected, then we can get into our seats, figure out how much we need to modify both our backrest and our base seat. The front seat, 0 modification on those. We don't come into that area. So once we've got these covers done, we're going to jump into probably wiring the car. We do have brakes, fuel, wiring, and front shocks left. So we're going to keep hustling away on this thing. And just keep going. So okay, we're gonna wrap up this video here. So I'll show you what we've got done. We have drive shaft tunnel. It's almost done. I gotta get under the car, cut, bend, and weld that. We've got our 4-link covers with our holes to get our bolts out, and our Zerk fittings. Everything's painted black, seam sealed. In the trunk here, same thing, seam sealed. Still have to do covers for the access points to the bags. Everything, like I said, everything's seam sealed, set up, so we can get to that. And then inside the wheel wells, that's all undercoating. So it's a rubberized coating to go in there. Add some sound deadening and also some texture to that so it won't chip off. Next we're going to get into doing the back seat. So I picked up some 3/16 rod that when we cut the seat to go around the drive shaft and the 4-link, that we'll be able to recreate some structure back into the seat. And that's going to be both the backrest and the base. So we'll probably start with the back first, get the shape of that set, and then we'll know where it's sitting, and then we'll start on the base. And once all that's in, it can get recovered and stay in there. And then I'll put the front seat in too. Obviously after we get that drive shaft tunnel welded up at the front. After that's done, we are going to move on to doing the wiring. We've got a American Auto Wire wiring kit that's going to go into this. After that, we'll move on to brakes, fuel line, and front shocks. So we still got a bit of work to do on this, but we're getting closer and closer every night, every weekend. So keep following along, guys. Appreciate the support, the views. If you like what we're doing, subscribe, like the videos. Everything's appreciated. Thank you.